Why are we so low on the screen? I mean,
Because it hasn't been adjusted.
okay. Oh, there we go.
Slouching.
Oh, the camera control. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
All right.
everybody sit up straight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. Now you have to see participants. So we'll mute.
Oh, now I need it.
So it just says in meeting conference room. So there's nobody else on, right?
You'll try and join it.
Okay. Right. And that will show up like here.
Yeah,
Show up
I
there.
would just.
Okay, leave it
Leave
there.
that open.
Okay. All right, so who are we missing? Mary Jo. Henry. Henry. I'm
Henry's
having
busy.
the best time. I can't remember. Yeah. One more minute. Brendan, you didn't hear anything from. All right, go ahead and get started. So this is a meeting of the MN Sphere Reuse Committee. Today is December 4th, 2025, and I will start by just going through the agenda. We have minutes from November 13th to review and approve. Going to review and vote on the CPC determination of eligibility application for the MN Sphere Library front porch repairs. I'm going to give an update on Mass Save audit weatherization recommendations, update on CAD drawings of new town hall building reconfiguration. I'm hoping Steve, even maybe you could give us whether or not you're able to get the building inspector.
I did.
Okay, good. So just an update on that. We'll sort of add that to the CAD drawing. Any unanticipated business? Anybody have anything that needed to be added to the agenda? Okay. And then the last item is schedule the next meeting date. So do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of November 13th, 2025? Moved.
Second.
Okay, any changes, edits to the minutes? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hosier, aye.
I abstained since I wasn't here. Alma's aye.
And Farrell, aye. So we have a five. That's enough, right? Okay. All right. So the next item on the agenda, that's for you today, Stephen, is to review and vote on the CPC determination of eligibility. So this is what we had talked about. The CPC Community Preservation Committee has a two-step process for application. The first step being that we ask potential applicants to come in and do a very simple application, not even just answer some questions to make sure that project that they're contemplating or the use of CPA funds is eligible under the state guidelines. They're pretty specific about the uses, and it just avoids people doing a full application when in fact it wasn't going to be eligible. And it's not, I just want to remind people in case anybody's listening to this, that we can still entertain this Community Preservation Committee, of which I am a member. I'm the housing representative on the CPC. It has nothing to do with my select board duties. But we ask people to do this, but we can still entertain applications if the termination of eligibility wasn't done. It really is, the CPC is doing it to save people a lot of work if they're not going to be eligible. So I know you had drafted something
Right.
before and
I
we talked
thought,
about
I
this.
thought that was passed out last meeting.
Yes,
Right.
Yeah.
So everybody had it.
yes.
Nobody got
Nobody
back
had
to
any-
you with any
yes.
comments.
No, it looked fine to me,
Okay.
but I think I should probably recuse myself just because I'm on this PC.
Can you turn it in?
Yeah, turn it in, sure. Although, you know what? I mean, you do it electronically. I mean, we're really looking not to have a lot of paper. So if it's easier for you, I can scan it and just send it off to Mateo.
I didn't bring my laptop. I assume I have
Okay.
it on my laptop, but
Okay.
given it's due in
You,
a couple days.
yeah, why don't you give it to me? I'll just scan it and then I'll forward it to him.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay, so do I hear a motion to approve the determination of eligibility for the Emmons Spear Library? And this involves, again, the approving the front entry porch, and Stephen, described to us what needed to be done there, jacking up the decking, and the railing needs to be
Yeah, so it's
Be redone.
jacking up the entire structure to allow for putting in proper footings, from which supports will come up to support the repositioned porch and the entire floor deck structure, stair structure, and the decking, and the stairs would all be redone. And various details, historic details that are there, say up in the gable of that would be repaired. I'll call them guardrails, but they're too low functionally. So my guess is we should
grills.
Put new ones in that use the same historic detail, but are the proper height.
Right. It's gonna have to be built to code. So,
That,
right, yeah,
and then there's no, historically, there was no railing on the steps, but there will be a railing on the steps.
Even when you refer to the entire structure being jacked up, you're referring to the entire porch structure.
yes.
Right? Just to
Correct.
clarify. Okay.
Not the building, just
Okay.
front
Just
entry.
want to make
porch.
sure we're clear.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to approve and to submit the determination of eligibility application to the Shutesbury Community Preservation Committee for the Emmons Spear Library front porch repairs?
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? Questions? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Hold your eye.
Lion's eye.
Thomas, I,
Okay, great. I will go ahead and get that to Mateo. Okay, so the next item is for me to give an update on my questions around weatherization and energy audits of both the town hall as well as the Emmons Spear Library. So I had to dig around because there was information kind of buried in different documents, but not like a file that we could just pull and say, oh, here's what was done around weatherization. So in your packet of materials that you got, Brennan pulled some information out of some document that was done by the town of Shutesbury, and it provides, when we were applying for the Brennan, you got to remind me, this was it's had to do with green communities. And so what this does is it gives information around the weatherization installation of Shutesbury municipal buildings. And there's reference to both the library, and the second page of this document it has attachment A at the top. It tells what some of the recommendations were. And really, you know, as far as I'm concerned, like weatherization is nice, but it's not, it's not anything substantive. I mean, you know, weather stripping.
Right.
Yeah, saves you a little bit of energy and the payback's probably okay. But it doesn't address sort of, you know, bigger issues. The town did apply for under Green Communities a grant that was awarded, which resulted in all of the lighting at the elementary school being replaced. So to high energy efficiency lighting. But there isn't a lot that these guys really came up with. And again, there's something, the document that had energy conservation on the top is just a little bit more detail than you have in attachment A. The other document here is ECAC, our energy committee, is working on getting the town certified in being having a special certification under the Green Communities. And in order to get that, which provides access to some additional money, the Energy Committee got a grant to actually write a decarbonization roadmap. And so this document here talks about roadmap implementation areas. And the idea is to reduce energy usage in municipal buildings. And so it goes through a bunch of recommendations, talks about, again, briefly about town hall, about all town buildings, but specifically we were looking at the town hall and the MN Spear Library. You know, because what they mentioned here, and some information I got from Michael DiChiara, who's been working on this, is that he said that we might, if we were going to reuse the MN Spear building, even though it's not a big energy, the biggest energy use is the elementary school and this building. That library is not, you know, it's not a big draw, but because we might be doing work to it, that could be the subject of an application for these funds. We first have to get, you know, approved by the state. This roadmap was done. It was approved by the select board, and I think the submission has either happened or is about to happen. Haley, do you know what the timing is on the decarbonization?
Needs to be in by the end of
December. Okay. Once that's approved, you know, I was looking at what some of the other awards, I mean, Ashfield, there aren't very many communities in Western Mass. I think there are 4 communities in Western Mass that are climate leaders under the state program, under the Green Communities. Ashfield got $870,000 to do solar on town buildings, and I think in another location in town. So there's a significant amount of money. The grants are very large. ECAC is definitely taking the lead here. And I think it would be worth our while at some point to include them in on a meeting, because I think between with the Buildings Committee, the Energy Committee, they have been, and I know, Stephen, you've been part of this, you know, looking at all the town buildings, you know, now we're kind of coming from a different direction, looking at a couple of the town buildings. So, you know, I think it would serve us all well. But what I did glean from this was that there hasn't been an energy audit done in a long time. Now, some of the improvements I know were done. I know there was some weatherization stuff, work that was done on this building. And, we can pursue that. But I would only want to do that kind of in concert with talking with the Energy Committee and the Building Committee about the utility of getting another energy audit done. The Buildings Committee, and Stephen, you can jump in here, has gone through interior and exterior of all town buildings and done a pretty comprehensive report. So, we know about the physical plant. This is really more about energy usage. So that's sort of where I landed, that I'm not sure it makes sense at this point to get Mass Save involved. They do municipal buildings, we can have it done. We might want to wait until we have a better idea about what direction we're going in with both this space and the library.
So when you say considering an energy audit, that would be an outside company, or would Mass Save?
Mass Save, and they typically contract with somebody.
Yeah. So a Mass Save energy audit on this building and that building, is that? what you're
Yeah, and
thinking?
I don't know if they would want to come back since it was done so long ago. It might make sense to have them come back and do all the buildings, and then once the school building is done. I mean, there's been a lot of information, a lot of data entered into the system about energy usage. So, when I was reading back through some of the documents, things have improved, but it's still pretty dramatic what the costs are for, for this building and for the school.
I guess my only hesitation, Read, about holding off is not knowing what kind of lead time Mass Save or the contractors might need. And, if we anticipate that 6 months from now, we'll be ready to,
To move.
the trigger on
Yeah.
something over there. Are we gonna wait? Yeah, have to wait another 6 months before we can even get an audit,
Okay. Well, I'm getting a name, somebody to talk to there. So I just want to make sure everybody's kind of looped in, including, our town administrator, if we're going to pursue that. So let me find out what the specifics are, what kind of information they need, what their timing is.
Yeah. That'd be helpful.
So I think I missed a fact. When was
It was
when
done.
did the last audit?
Yeah, it was done. It's in here. I want to say 2009.
Okay, last one.
Yes.
2009. And was it done by Mass Save?
Yes,
Contract.
it was our contractor. So Shutesbury completed the last project recommended by the energy audit in 2018. Heat pumps are not on the market in 2009. So that the heading where it goes justification of projects applied for in the 2022 grant cycle gives you a little summary. Last project recommended by the energy audit was an upgrade of the boiler, town hall. It was finally completed in 2018, weeks ahead of the closeout of our designation grant. So, yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, so I don't understand. I would think we'd do it right away. I mean, what?
Well, yeah, I don't know what, yeah, I don't know what their process is like, so I want to find out what, whether or not they'll just do it, or if they say, no, we only do them every 20 years or whatever before. But I think we can find out. I more wanted to, I was thinking more about if we have them come in, would we want to have some idea if we were going to change the configuration, would that have any impact on the energy audit itself? So if we were saying, we're gonna do a different use here.
Well, I would think that if, say, you're going to put a bathroom in, that means plumbing under the floor, right? Drain under the floor. So mean, one of the things that obviously could use improvement is the insulation
Right.
under the floor.
And that's sort of my point
Yeah.
is if we're saying this is the direction we're
Right.
going in, then how does that impact I just want to have enough information for them so that it's a useful tool for us.
Right.
And if we are not at all, we have no idea, then asking those kinds of questions
Right.
seems sort of silly.
Yeah.
They say, we can be out there in 2 weeks, then
Yeah.
obviously we'll hold off. But if
Yeah.
they say, yeah, we'll put you on the list, and it'll be 6
Yeah.
months from now,
Yeah, okay.
let's get on the list.
Yeah, okay, great. I will go ahead and follow through with that. And I think I'm just gonna circle back with the Energy Committee and with the Building Committee to make sure everybody's, on board. Since you guys, those two committees have been through these buildings kind of with a fine tooth comb.
Oh, okay.
Sort of, kind of. They've been, okay, they did the broad brush. on
Right.
these. All right, so Mass Save. Okay, so I will report back to you at the next meeting about what that process involves for us getting them on board. Okay. Let's see. So the next item on the agenda is to talk about the CAD drawings for the looking at the town hall and a building reconfiguration here. So what our discussion centered around at our last meeting, Paul, that we're at is whether it made sense, we've been talking about this, made sense to look at a reconfiguration, particularly of this downstairs space, to create offices down here. And that was balanced against what it would cost for us to upgrade the MN Spear building, which Steve was checking about with the building inspector.
So is that actually where we should start? Because
Yeah.
if that's a
Yeah.
bathroom issue or,
Yep.
No.
Well, I realized this morning that I probably needed to ask more questions, but what I did find out. So I spoke with James Hawkins,
Yep.
and he said, library is a meeting place. It's a meeting place for books. If committees have meetings, there's no change of use. If say town residents wanted to have a family gathering, it could be rented or whatever. It's a meeting place for the people.
Wow, great.
Really? That's interesting.
So we could do
Okay.
all that
Yeah,
without
with that.
without having a bathroom. What I didn't ask about was, okay, what if we wanted to put the police department there? And I apologize for not having asked that, but I will go and find that out. That, I'm guessing, is a change of use
So it's not a meeting place.
because
it's
it's
an
no
office.
longer a meeting place.
Right.
And then, so I'll find out from him what the requirements would be, but I'm going to assume there will be minimally a bathroom required.
So as is, and
As-
that,
As a,
and we have a bathroom that we cannot we do not use, not cannot. So that's the as is, yeah, the compost.
well, I mean, we could take that out.
Right,
We
I mean,
can't
trying
really-
to figure out,
Yeah.
I know, but when he says as is, does he mean with functioning things and dysfunctioning things? Or
That's not a question I asked, but I mean, my interpretation would be, so the key thing is that it continues to be a meeting place. Just different kinds of meetings, so that it doesn't then trigger all these other
Right, right.
requirements.
So the issue
Because
is,
I said, what I said to
Yeah.
him was, we don't have a bathroom. And then I might have then said, well, There was a composting toilet, but it doesn't function.
Okay. Yeah, so then the decision about the toilet would have to do with what we think people need there, not any up to code or change of use
Right.
or whatever.
If
So
we're just
we can
leaving it as a
decide
meeting.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
So the issue is the change use in the building code, which Stephen was kind of elaborating. So once you, in the building code, if you have a change in use, you have to bring it up to code, correct?
That would be, yeah, well, I'll find out the exact requirements, but typically something like that means you got to come up to current day code. And that's where it could get sticky.
And our discussion evolved towards leaving it as a meeting space for lots of reasons.
Yeah.
So I don't see us in any, I see us in a better path.
Yeah.
Because we had worried about whether the
Right.
path had to include the bathroom,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. So just calling it a meeting space in any kind of,
Yeah.
doesn't talk about hours, it doesn't talk about who, it just calls it a meeting.
Right.
So what the direction I thought we had, we're going towards is saying, okay, let's, here are the advantages and disadvantages and kind of going side by side, if we were to convert that to offices, and let's leave it untitled offices, that it's offices, what's entailed there in terms of complexity and potential cost versus retaining it as now what we're calling it as a meeting place.
Carefully calling it.
Carefully calling it a meeting, yes. Calling it a
It's on
meeting
the front of the building.
Right. So, because I think there's, what we're going to be doing is making recommendations, and recommendations are going to go to the select board. The select board's then going to take it to town meeting. Because there'll be money involved no matter what we do. And I think, one of the reasons we didn't jump right away to any dramatic change in the use of the building was concern over what the costs are going to be. And I do recall, thinking right away, oh boy, the building code changed on us in our new library.
Right. Had to add a bathroom.
Yeah, I had to add a bathroom. I mean, and the code is pretty
Right.
daunting at
Right.
times.
And we asked for a variance because, the code change occurred
Midstream, yeah.
after, well, we were really through with design, development and drawings. I mean, and then all of a sudden we've got to squeeze in a bathroom.
And they said
And
no.
The other thing that was difficult is that, the original design, the interior square footage was around 6,000 square feet. Well, if the roof, not building square footage, square footage exceeds 5,000 square feet, then we have to have a fire sprinkler system, which, given we don't have a public water source, means we have to have, I think it was a 5 or 10,000 gallon buried water storage tank, pumping station, and a backup generator on site, which I think added like $1.5 million to the project. So we're now we're like 4,999 on roof square footage.
There's no eaves on this
Yeah,
building.
Yeah, there were, but yeah.
Well, I think it's useful to know, what the code requirement or
Oh, yeah.
legal requirements
Yeah,
are.
I need to get some more.
And all of that, but, as Susie kind of mentioned, it may just come down to what we as a committee feel is appropriate or not. And, I'm not terribly comfortable with the idea of even using it as a meeting space for committees or boards or whatever without a bathroom, knowing that, people have to go to the bathroom periodically and night meetings and people have to cross the street. I'm not terribly comfortable with that. So, at some point, maybe now we should have a discussion about, if that's even in the realm of possibilities to keep it as a meeting space without a bathroom. If it's not, then we bite the bullet and say, okay, we're putting in a bathroom, or whatever the final decision is.
Mhm.
Keeps the meeting short.
So it's conceivable that if we weren't, yes, we were doing it as a meeting place, we don't have to do the full code
Right.
upgrade, but we would want a bathroom. And then how much is a bathroom running the water line
Right.
over there gonna cost us?
Well, then we'd start looking at bathroom options. We wouldn't, that's, I mean, that's how you.
I think Mary Jo, she's done some checking.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yes, we could look at what what qualifies as a bathroom.
Well, not only what qualifies, what meets, if we see it as a meeting space, what do we feel would be a reasonable accommodation for bathroom?
Right.
And I think that opens it up. I'm not seeing it as, you know, a regular bathroom with flushing toilets and running sinks. I don't think that I can see another level of accommodation that keeps people from crossing the road, but it's not, you know, a regular water type bathroom.
Not sure what that means, but.
Yeah, we need to know those
We
options.
we do. So Mary Jo had somebody that she knew about to deal with the composting toilets, but I don't recall what
Well, what I remember her final
She didn't come.
thought was,
she didn't.
was that there are these, I mean, it's a very basic, it's like a camper's porta potty. There's a bag, and I guess it has whatever the liquid is in it. And you go to the bathroom, and there might even be a separate one for urine, I'm not sure, but basically you use it, tie up the bag, and throw the bag in the trash.
And does it become a code issue? So that might be another question for,
What would be the code issue?
well, just, you know,
Is that 88?
I don't know. I don't know. Sure.
Put in would have to be 88, right?
Right, yeah, yeah. Well, the
I don't-
space that's there
Yeah.
It's ADA.
is ADA.
But is it updated ADA? Is there, I think that's one of the things we need to, you know, we'll need to know is that has the code changed on the ADA stuff too, like the turning, I just know.
Oh, turning
The
radius.
turning radius,
Pretty roomy
Yeah, it's
space.
pretty generous.
Yeah, it was meant for that and
right,
it has the,
Now
it
it's
doesn't have a threshold, you get into
bunch of
that.
stuff in there, so it looks small, but.
Right.
Yeah. It's Jim, right? It's Jim Hawkins?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So what I would say, do you know, ask him if we were to be using it as a meeting space, but we were adding a bathroom.
We're not adding a bathroom, we're fixing the bathroom. I mean, I think it's really careful language.
Yeah,
That space is there. And it's like you're fixing the toilet because the toilet doesn't work. That's what I feel is the difference of addressing it at all.
yeah. Why don't you tell him what our situation is? And then, you know, I'd be really curious to see whether or not he's come across this in any of the other Franklin County towns and if any other municipalities have had any, or just, you know, in his experience as a building inspector, have information like up to date, what is the state of the art composting toilet universe look like?
And I can see if we're talking to the town about this, that's an issue. They might just say, no bathroom. That they could see it as a meeting space without a bathroom, that they would be the pioneers or the way around. So I think the opposite's true too, that I believe people would have a hard time justifying, you know, a septic system, a tight tank or whatever, and, you know, installing a bathroom. So it's kind of gets stark in
Yeah,
terms of what the options could be. And people get to hear the pluses and minuses for each. And I believe sometimes people would go for, oh, no bathroom. It's just a meeting space. People
Right.
come and go.
My thought was,
Who cleans the bath?
Who takes those bags? The town administrator?
I'm putting this plan down.
Just kidding, just kidding. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Yeah.
Well, that's just one of the options.
Mhm.
So, there's finding out more about current science of composting.
Yeah.
Right.
There's understanding whether we want to offer this. No, I personally, it goes back to the way we did the record storage. You just say, these are the advantages
Right.
and disadvantages.
Right.
And here's the
Right.
cost here and here's not,
Right.
and people go, oh, that's a good one. And they
Right.
vote. And that's what
Right.
town meeting's job is
Yeah.
to do.
the one other thing I remember Mary Jo had suggested is that we visit Sirius because they apparently have composting toilet or toilets.
Mhm.
And, they obviously, if they do, have been dealing with this for a long time and would probably have some good information.
The one other piece about composting toilet is how often they are used.
Right.
And so
Right, that's right.
it's both ways. I mean, if
Right.
it's very, very infrequent, then bags being thrown into the recycle bin or whatever is not a big deal.
Right.
But if it relies on a certain level of use so that it functions, that's not going to be the candidate
Right.
for that.
Right.
Does the Board of Health or?
Yeah, I mean,
Sooner or later, they're
Yep.
gonna weigh in, I'm sure.
yes,
Maybe sooner rather than later, we could be, inquiring about, they may know the current,
Mhm.
current options that are out there.
I'm happy to call Kat if somebody else wants to
I can
volunteer
do that.
to
I see her.
talk to her.
I'll ask her.
I know years ago, decades ago, DEP had some elaborate research projects going on all the alternatives to, traditional septic systems.
Yeah,
And I don't know where all that went, but, they've been thinking about these things for years and years, so it'd be another good resource for us.
Right.
Yeah. It's like we get a question over here.
I do want to add, there's a lot of uncertainty in the police world right now. Because the law states that our departments need to be certified. And we're not really sure what that means yet. If that means accredited, well, that's an issue because there's probably one accredited department in Franklin County. But in accreditation standards, there's about 350 criteria you have to meet. Certification standards, there's other criteria, but this came with the police reform bill. So it's not even certain that we would pass certification criteria in the current space we're in or sharing space. With that, it's going to come audits of police departments where they're going to come to visit police departments to see facilities, equipment, that sort of thing. So I do want to bring that up because there's some issues. There's a lot of issues with us not having our own building, but that's something that's certainly coming down the pipe. And I think if we want to try to get ahead of it, be proactive rather than reactive, we would have to seriously consider using that space for the police department. Like I said, there's a lot of uncertainty on it, but the one thing that is certain is that it is going to happen. You just don't know exactly what the criteria are going to be.
Understandable.
yeah, well, that's one of those unfunded mandates. And I would imagine that that there would be an outcry from really small communities about state coming in and dictating that you have to have a separate building when in fact, police departments have operated pretty minimally, space-wise in a lot of small towns. But if there's information that you can get, Devin, that you could share with us around from the police reform bill, that would be very helpful.
And also keep doing input on, and what about small towns? Just keep saying that because they may end up having to scale it.
Yeah, I think
Right.
they're ultimately
Yeah.
going to scale it.
Yeah.
The chiefs are obviously fighting back. However, even a lot of the departments like Deerfield. They're a 24-hour department. They're not even sure if they're gonna meet certification standards. They have their own facility and everything, so, all the chiefs are fighting back on it, and Franklin County is not unique, to this. You know, Berkshire's, a lot of departments, some in central Mass too.
Yeah.
But yeah, post commissions budget increased. It was like $30 million. Now they went from like something like 9 to 50 different staff members, so there is outcry from the smaller communities, but you know, the clarification on the law is really what we're waiting on. The audits are for certain. So, but obviously they have to establish the criteria before they audit us.
So
So
what currently are they saying happens if the department doesn't pass this certification?
Well, the law says that the department has to be certified, so.
We're a long way from that.
Hey, what about small towns?
Right, but it's well done, yeah. But yeah, if there's any literature, anything that has been put forth about this issue, that would be really helpful for us.
Yeah, I know it's like the most recent update is they're trying to establish what the criteria they're gonna follow is.
Mhm.
So that's the most recent update I've seen. on it.
Yeah.
Yet another lobbying effort.
So that sort of moves us into thinking about this. So I think we're on kind of a dual track of continuing to collect information around the existing building. So to follow through with more questions, I think, for Jim Hawkins. And
Researching.
Board of Health, compost.
And I'll do it.
Toilet.
I'll talk to DEP. I'll talk to that.
That would be very helpful. And, because again, in my mind, I'm throwing up that, you know, advantages and disadvantages of the different paths we might go. And then at some point, we're gonna wanna, have the costs enumerated as to, those different options. So, last time, Paul, when you weren't here, what we talked about was looking at our existing space, particularly this downstairs area, to say, okay, you know, we already have bathrooms here. We already have handicapped accessibility here. We have,
Parking.
parking here. And it makes
Entries,
sense.
different entries.
We have separate entrances. Would it make sense to reconfigure this space? And, you know, we were doing rough calculations on square footage and so forth. Right now, so the room next door is a dedicated senior lounge. And this space here is used for select board meetings. Somebody reminded me that in the past, you know, when, let's say, the planning board had a hearing, you know, had a lot of people, you know, you could have 50 people in this room. My hope, and I have not talked to Marianne about this, is that now with the, you know, the community space in the library, that we're going to have another option for those kinds of meetings. So, but I'm not sure that they have articulated a policy about the use of that room. I assume it's in the works if it hasn't been done already.
Would that be up to them to do so?
It's up to it's up to the trustees. I don't, you know, I'm not sure that we could say to them, you have to have, you, the library, have to allow, let's say let's say the ZBA has a hearing and we anticipate 50 or 60 people. I mean, this space isn't really ideal anyway for lots of reasons. But that space is, except for the parking. I mean, this doesn't have the parking either when we get a really big turnout. I can't remember the last time I was here for any kind of big, I mean, I remember, I don't know what the meeting was, you know, where we had a lot of people attending a meeting. We also thought through if this, you know, if you just look at this as one large space, that there could be like a partial accordion wall, partial walls that where a room could be opened up. Let's say you needed to have a larger room for. So, Stephen took a look at this space. And so we have a drawing here right now, which shows us what we have. Obviously, there are a few things we're not going to change, like the utility room. If we're, you know, being really sensitive to cost. You know, we had some discussion about whether or not we could bump, you know, the part of the kitchen space, if we were doing a reconfiguration down here, that part of that kitchen space, which is the kitchen is used, but there's some space in there that's probably not going to be used. It's a big kitchen, you know, we could have a bump out in there into that space. We have entrances. We have one over here too.
Right.
An outdoor, you know, outdoor. I don't know if that's ADA compliant, that entrance over there.
A little roof on it.
Yep, little,
Robin.
and that it's very icy. That's where it drips down. I was here yesterday doing reads and stuff, and it was treacherous getting out of there.
We're talking about in the line.
Yeah, so there's an exit there, and there's an exit here, and then obviously an exit there. So what I think we wanted to figure out is whether or not it made sense and what would the cost be, again, when we're comparing. The police department has indicated, you know, from our survey and backed up at the town administrator, that the current space is inadequate, both for issues related to security, storage, privacy, and the booking area. Booking room. So the question becomes, could we reconfigure this space for the police department to be down here, have a separate entrance, and have a bigger space, and then, you know, maintain a hallway, you know, for the access and privacy. I know that the windows are an issue. And we talked about that a little bit of just blocking them up. Yeah, when you have, you know, when you have people walking by, but it doesn't mean, you know, we could do a number of different things. When you start with kind of a big raw space, we obviously have these beams being supported here, so that's going to remain. And we have a heating system that would all have to be taken into account if we were going to try to adapt this space into separate rooms. And it's conceivable it could be designed such that either windows are eliminated or blocked. And, you know, again, I'm not an architect. I'm not exactly sure how this would work, but I know in terms of gross square footage, we have a lot of square footage down here, not used, and we heat it. We clean it. And, the senior lounge is, you know, could potentially be a dual space. Not, yeah, I think, you know, we'd have to have lot more discussion about that.
And we talked about dividing up the space, that wall could be moved inward. Second pole, create the hallway. I realized, when I was thinking about it, that there are things in this room that wouldn't be in the police department, that and that. So some storage would still be needed, and that hallway could end up being some of that. In the bar room, we need to have probably an election space, or a space that's flexible enough to meet needs like election, the nurse, the COA, and the needs they feel like they have. And then, like you said, this room, if it gets divided up, still needs to do ventilation, and heating and electrical so that both spaces are supported. This wall doesn't hold electricity, so you have to make sure you end up with enough electricity in the other room.
We know, I mean, other than these beams here, Stephen, do we know, which bearing walls in this building? That would limit, what we could.
In the wall.
No, I mean, when I measured, so these 4 columns, and given the drop down, I'm pretty certain we have a beam running that way, and the distance from that wall, first column, and that far wall to that
Yeah.
column, same.
And
Yeah, so I think there are 2, identical size beams there and there. And then logically, looking above, you've got load coming this way. You think of the corridor.
Right.
So I think that's load bearing from above and load bearing from above. So this wall, the one Susie was just talking about, is it's just a partition.
Yeah.
And I would assume that these walls, corridor walls
Kind of line up.
could be bearing. But otherwise, I would be surprised.
Right.
So I just did, while you're talking, some quick calculations, and very rough, the current police office space, not this storage, just
Not including the storage.
not including the
closet.
storage.
Yep.
Is 357 square feet. And if you put a wall along these columns, then that is 630.
So are you saying this second column,
Inwards, right?
Yeah.
this column nearest us this way, is 600 and what?
630. This is very rough.
Yeah.
And then, we could take, if we reduce the kitchen by half, which I think would be, we'd have to move the door to the kitchen. 16, 8.
So like up to the sink you're talking?
No, yeah, we wouldn't,
Those the sinks right under those two.
yeah. So that would be 92 square feet for storage closet.
Or booking
Existing storage closet
48.
is, 46, 47.
So what's the challenge here in terms of the heating system, because, once we start getting into heating,
Well, your heating in here, there's your thermostat under the
Yep.
clock. And the heating is this baseboard unit running along the outside wall.
why so many pipes? What,
Well, what happened, I'm guessing when they did the new boiler, they, when this was operated as a school, my guess is there was one heating system and
right,
you had radiators throughout and everything was controlled by one thermostat.
right,
So what they did is they zoned the system. So if you keep that door shut right there,
yeah,
you can have this at a set temperature. You can have that room at a set temperature, and wherever else there are thermostats, you can have set temperatures. So that the system isn't heating the entire building to the same temperature
right,
all the time.
Right.
That allows the heating to be controlled individually in zones.
Correct.
So it
Yeah.
doesn't, if you build the wall, it doesn't change where the heat is.
yeah, it's more that, how do you do a division when you have pipes like that? Are you like lowering ceiling weight?
No, you could build the partition and literally sheetrock around it.
Rocks in there.
Mhm. So you don't have to change the heating system.
I don't see any reason that you'd have to. I mean, your need for heat is along the outside wall where the wall's cold, you've got all the windows.
Right,
If there was, if the windows, a number of the windows were blocked off, that would actually reduce the amount of cold.
right.
It would make it a little, quote, warmer.
Yeah.
Devin, do you have a question?
Just wondering, so what are the events on the wall? Is that cooling?
No, I think that's part of the HRV,
They might have said a
heat recovery ventilator.
Adding, I mean, if it's zoned, then.
Well, that's not
It's
heating.
just an air exchange. It was to deal with the mold down here.
When we take those out, the
So that, all that stuff there is, as I understand it, it's like taking the air from the outside and just.
Yeah. Well, it has a heat exchanger in it, so very simply, think of 30-degree air being pulled in from outside and you're sending 70-degree air out. And in an ideal world, you heat up that 30-degree air to 50. So
Right.
you're not having to spend 20 degrees of heat to get it up to temperature. Yeah.
So I guess my first question is, what does the COA think of this plan?
We haven't talked to anybody because we really have been
Brainstorming.
Yeah, brainstorming amongst ourselves. We'll get everybody all
up.
So my other question would be, like, if the police department isn't here,
Right.
well, I guess this is a question for you. How does that impact the ability to go into the utility closet? Like if somebody,
could.
We'd have a hallway.
you have a hallway.
Yeah.
And that, but
There would be a hallway separated.
No,
There'd be a wall along these
Wall, yeah.
posts,
imagine
and you could have a door that comes in here.
that there's a wall here and you could decide you want to have the door in this apartment here, which logically makes more sense because you need less walls if you're dividing it up. So this is a door in, that's also a door. So
I guess what I'm wondering.
and you can, just like upstairs, you can lock your door.
But what I'm wondering is if I have, someone in custody and they have, someone aging, bringing someone to the back.
That door.
Yeah, I bring them through the door, but if there are people arriving for a meeting, stuff that could be problematic.
This is pretty autonomous, and also if we end up incorporating some of the kitchen, you have choices of where your privatist space is. But I do think it means that this is going to be a more of your into the police department entry, or off of this hall, there'll be a door to come in here, and they will have their traffic headed that way.
Well, another thought was that If this becomes the police department, that's your primary entry. Possibly there could be a, say, privacy fence. You know, this would be dedicated police parking. If you're bringing somebody in, pull in, you know, the privacy fence there. Bring them inside.
And I also lose a lot of room with secure evidence storage would be
Well,
part of it.
Well, see, by reducing the
Kitchen.
kitchen by half. Why is it here?
How is that gonna
Why-
affect lunch? stuff? Like when they're in there using that, there's no space. And I guess what happens to all this stuff that needs to be stored? We can't put it in the hallway. That has to be ADA.
Well,
Well,
if this is, there's a wall here. And say, take that wall out. A lot of that stuff could be lined up here,
Yeah, but
which increases,
even like with something like that, is that still gonna get like minimum you need 36 inches, but a lot of things do like 40 for seniors. So like, is that gonna give us, just feels kind of
well,
cluster.
I'm sorry, what's the hallway, seniors still. Everything I do, I did.
Okay, right. They're not coming all the way down here.
Correct. The only reason for having,
All the
say,
way
access is to get it there, but
the
if the
utility.
walls do. I mean, do you actually wanna have another wall? See that wall? I mean, I don't think so because it restricts the use of the space.
Right.
It'd be better to enlarge that space and then reconfigure how this stuff goes.
And access to that is for utility. And so part of this hallway could be the storage of stuff could be in here and go back. It's not, that's not meant to be traveled in.
Right.
Seems like it may make sense to kind of stay on a higher level view of the whole building
Right.
initially. You know, and, you know, we could get really, you know.
Into the
caught up
weeds,
in
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
A lot of the details at this point, so.
Well, I guess does it have to be the police that come down here? Like, is there any reason, let's say, it could just be like finance staff? And maybe go across the hall, this office. Like, is that, are we set on it being the?
No, I mean, it could,
But
it was,
part of it was to keep the police traffic away from what was upstairs. So there's more than,
a privacy
Yeah.
issue.
Give it, yeah,
We
it was,
respect that.
The moving it down here doesn't really solve that privacy issue in my opinion, just because, you know, we're gonna have folks that, you know, any meeting, if that's still a meeting space, then we're gonna have a bunch of cars out there. And it's a small town, so people, if I have someone arrested or even just someone coming in to talk about an assault or anything, you know, it's such a small town, but their neighbors could be meeting. It's,
But we have that now. So, you know, we have it now and we've had it that way for decades.
Sound.
Yeah, definitely.
We don't need that.
I mean, the reality is that, you know, right now the seniors are down here once a month. So they don't have any programming.
That could
It
change.
could change, right, right. But it's not like a daily use.
and they also could use that other outside entrance. They don't have to come down the hall, but they do go in the kitchen just to put stuff away.
Right.
It's not a prep place. So, and I guess there's in talking with Paul saying, a larger view is how do we share the space?
Right.
At this point, sharing the space is still inevitable. So, right, so maybe once we work on some possible plans, then we can see if it meets enough needs. It may never meet all the needs. But this is thinking about what is this big space down here doing and what could it do more effectively?
And that is driven by by cost, and I think by some articulated interest in, and I've heard it discussed or mentioned in this committee, but I've also heard it mentioned outside, to the extent possible, having the police be part of town hall. And so, if you're over there, then it's, it is isolated. It's still pretty visible. I mean, that's anybody driving by can see cars, can see people getting out of the cars. So, it's not as private as we hope it to be. And there is a parking issue over there too. So again, we're not making the decisions. We're just like, yeah. We're trying to look at all the options.
If the senior entrance also gets moved, does that mean you have to put in? Or is the expectation that if they need?
No, they could come in this way. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, both doors are handicap accessible.
No, I'm talking about parking, like if I have a dam.
Yeah.
So I have to do that one.
Come in that way. I mean, you
Come
could
in
do
that
it. Could do it that door. It's
It's-
ADA
What
compliant.
is it paved?
Yeah, there's a sidewalk up to it
Yeah.
and it's as paved as the rest of the.
It's
park.
just, yeah, it's not ideal right now because that overhang is really inadequate. And so it drips and there's water and then it freezes. So it's a nice little ice skating rink that's going out of there.
That's
Yeah.
building committee stuff.
Yeah.
We're moving forward on getting gutters.
Oh, okay.
on
That's good.
Two.
Mhm.
There's one out front that's
Right.
in need of repair. There's going to be some at the highway department, some at the fire department.
So back to your question, Haley, about, could somebody else move down here? Yes. We could put other offices, but it seemed to, well, to me anyway, it seems like, why would you,
With the
it
beach.
doesn't solve the kind of private, it solves the space issue. But it doesn't solve the privacy issue. It's even more of an issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's. The firehouse.
Be very happy.
No, I might not be happy with that.
Safety.
Oh, yeah.
I feel that the space is underutilized. Just, I don't know, I feel like. Do we want to coordinate it up or do we want to think about how we could more? Like we use this, I know that. City people thought training here, use it for staff meetings. Other different events, which, you could go over that spear, but like you said, you don't have a bathroom. So. I don't know, I guess for me, I would just like to see us try to use this more before we give it a whole new thing that we can't necessarily easily take back.
Well, one of the ideas was in having the balance of the space be flexible enough that we could still have a decent sized meeting
And
space.
expand it. It would be
Expand
bigger
it
than that.
so that it could be, partitioned off. But then opened up and, yeah, I mean, we have somebody from the Council of Aging on the group, so they're,
Say anything?
she didn't.
We did talk, I asked Melissa if there was anything in the history of COA that dictates it has to have its own room. And she was gonna look at that. I haven't heard back from her.
Yeah.
So I can ask her again. I don't believe that's so, because in many towns, the COA works in other people's spaces too.
Yes, which is true. Yeah, but I would say, sometimes. This, I'm not saying to discourage anyone, but it might feel like that's their home. So I don't know, I guess I'm saying that I can understand why you might want to get your plan together first. But I also think you might want to approach it COA and the town staff for it finalized. Because then people might feel like, well, there's no choice now.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we're not close to finalizing anything.
I think again that it's more like the way we presented record storage. It's options that go in front of people so they understand the pros and cons of each one.
Right.
And then maybe the town meeting comes up with yet another version. but it's not, we're not saying what it's gonna be, but we
Right.
have to start imagining what some options are.
And I, like I said, I get that. I just think people like to be part of it. My experience, people get upset when you just say, hey, we thought about this and this is an option, but you know, sometimes don't feel like it's. an option. Like,
Yeah.
I think, oh, you've come up with that's not have to say. And I know, especially with adults, like sometimes the worst decisions I ever made were, you know, thinking that I knew something and I definitely did not, and they told me very clearly. So I try to save you from that.
Young kid on the block.
Yes.
To a traffic station. To the table. Senior area. The response back was more or less that they finally have their own space. More or less to this line, and if we could put it somewhere, so I would like to add that piece in there, so my checks and my how those feel.
They are part of the town. And we all share space.
Yes.
So we can have that discussion. I hear your recommendation, you know, we can bring that. Committee members, I feel that makes sense to have somebody from the Council on Aging. I mean, I've thought about the Buildings Committee, you know, bigger, Stevens representing them.
Mary Jo.
Mary Jo is representing the Council on Aging, so, you know,
Do something
With
like
her.
that for the budget. That worked really well. People were engaged.
uh-huh,
Right? Maybe it's too many.
yeah, too many people. Too many people who don't know. You know, when you.
Doing that legwork, that's what we're
Yeah,
doing.
that's, I think that's our job. And so, you know, I think we're still in the process of gathering some information.
Sure.
But, I mean, this is like a little step further.
We've done a lot of this along the way, but you know, maybe it'd be a good time to kind of have a list of the questions that, you know, we really need to have answers to before we can make really any
Mhm.
decisions.
Okay,
So, you know, cost of bathrooms, you know, code requirements, you know, what, you know, from the bearing wall standpoint, what is feasible in this building to start reconfiguring, you know, walls and so forth. And there's probably a bunch of other, you know, questions that, you know, we're starting to get answers to, but,
Mhm.
you know, I think we should just brainstorm about those a little bit. So we,
so you already mentioned some of them.
yeah, well,
Are you
I mean,
taking minutes?
It's been hard at work.
It's been hard at work.
I mean, the bathroom one is still like, what range of options do we have there?
right,
So we're working on that,
yeah,
but we know
That's
about
big.
the code issue in
Yeah.
terms of the MN Spear. And then I thought this drawing helped us see where the load bearing is, but do we need that answered with different information?
I think a little more detail, you know, personally. I mean, I'm trying to picture, you know, how this building is constructed, you know, I mean, which way the rafters are going and, you know, and the floor joists and so forth, which, you know, will all kind of determine, you know, how you can kind of reconfigure things. So, I don't know, maybe you have a better sense for that, Stephen, already than I. do.
Well, I don't
I can't really tell.
I don't have, say, any more information other than, given the setup.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think we got two major beams here, and then I think we have shorter beams running here.
So those, yeah,
So,
would be the floor joists, basically.
so there's load
Sitting on
above,
top of these beams.
right, and then these beams are the major.
So, yeah, I
And then
think that's
that's-
pretty clear in this,
Yeah.
this big space here.
Yeah.
So it's really, you know, up, you know, in all the individual office spaces upstairs mostly. I think, you know,
Well, I think-
the options up there and maybe in that direction as well.
Well, you know, if, say, like, if you're changing a door, putting a door in.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
As you open it up, I mean, you can investigate or you put a simple header in them.
Mhm.
you know, simple header would be pretty minimal.
So, well, for example, let's look at this for just a moment. So maybe I'll just.
Oh, yeah, colored pens.
So you think, you know, our rafters are probably going this way, right? And so you think these are like bearing walls here? So bearing wall, you know, and on the outsides, of course. And then our
The
rafters.
joists.
Or I have floor joists. In this case, you know, this is the lower level. And then this would probably be the opposite somewhat, right? We got our main carrying beams here. Well, no, I guess,
And-
yeah,
And
and
he
right.
thinks there's a beam in there help supporting.
I'm sorry.
He said there'd be a beam in here above those posts.
Well, this is where, you know, basically all the floor joists would probably run this way now, right on top of these two big beams, right? So these would be all the floor joists.
Well, I think this is load coming through.
Oh, okay, so continuing.
Because you've got the corridors above,
And that's why they got the posts there.
and that's why they're aligned like that. Okay.
This distance between these posts is the same as the hallway distance probably, right?
Yeah.
So the.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can see that, yeah. Well, there's better. And we could look at the set of drawings that were done in 2002 when they did the elevator addition. And that may show they may have some structural drawings there. I don't know, but
Okay, all right, so, you know, even that's helpful for me now, just to, you know, start getting a better sense for, you know, what walls could be moved and which ones would be problematic and how we could reconfigure.
yeah, see, I don't know that there's a beam here. I think you just got, because the room above. See, the rooms above. You don't have, you know, these partitions were added at some point. This was originally just an open room. And this was an open room. So there's no actual load bearing on
Right.
this. So,
And this distance must be the safe distance.
yeah, this is the
The
same,
outside wall.
yeah.
post.
everything's stacked. So. I think it's fairly straightforward. I mean, I think the corridor walls and what's directly below
Mhm. That's probably.
are or require structure.
That's probably all the way they did schools.
And do we know the attic space here? Are these just rafters versus?
I could look, given the vintage, it's probably rafters. But I could look at some of my photos from when I was in the attic. I'm pretty sure it's rafters because I don't remember a lot of, you know, trusses. It's kind of like being in a jungle.
Yeah, right,
You're going
right.
through those, and
Yeah.
I don't remember that. There were clear path, clear walk panels, and it had to climb up one spot. Ceiling level changed.
And people like Bob Groves have been up there, Becky Torres have been up there.
Yep.
People have been there.
Okay, all right,
Still
well,
up there.
sorry for that little.
No, that's okay.
But it, you know, it's helpful for me to get a better feeling. What's possible here?
So I'm thinking we might work on a couple of configurations. Taking some of the kitchen, looking at the doors, figuring out the hallway storage, pulling out the cork wall here. And thinking about how we wanna organize things that do have to stay down here and travel paths for the most amount of privacy.
Right, and you know, if the police office were in this exploration down here, we now have this space upstairs to
Right.
decide how that's going to get dealt with.
I wasn't watching because I was
Yeah.
trying to start a list of questions. So, so this this would be a new wall, right? Or like,
No, here's how I'm saying. I'm saying if you put a wall here,
yeah,
right? And you have a door here,
yeah,
and you just take this wall out.
I see. So it's one big room.
So this room becomes probably this size if you,
Uh-huh.
because we're
Right. And then that, one of
And
the
then-
things we had contemplated was, could you have a divider in there?
Remember,
So,
or
the accordion, we
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
about
we
the accordion
Yeah.
space.
And-
Let's say you wanted to open it up, you wanted the Council on Aging to have their own separate space like they
Mhm.
currently have. It's a little bit reconfigured, and we want the select board to have their meeting room. But now the select board is having a big meeting, expecting 50
Mhm.
people, and we want to open this up all the way.
Sure.
We want the Council on Aging to still have sort of a dedicated space. And I think down here makes more sense than say, go upstairs, because they're using the kitchen.
right.
Um,
I guess I didn't hear anything about, partitioning off some of this so that in a folding wall so that it could be opened and shut. I thought this enlarged space would have to deal with access, some storage, and then a flow of activity there.
right. And one of the things, I mean, one argument could be made that if this is an entrance to the police, then it's into this space. So maybe the thing to do is you have a partition, something like this, and
see.
this becomes the entry in. So
So
then
that's-
this space still, and then
Right.
this is,
Yeah.
yeah, so then there's not this interface with
Right.
this space.
Right.
And maybe that's a better way to go.
But does the sound, like if, say you had a wall, so you'd have a real
Partition.
sound barrier there.
A real wall.
Yeah, I mean, if you want real sound isolation, one of the ways to do it is say you put a stud wall right here, and then you put another stud wall
Inside of it.
so that they're individually framed. Because so then vibration, you insulate it.
Right. And this is 630, so the
Right.
second wall can be in there.
Right, right. Yeah, it's much bigger than what
Yeah,
the
Right.
police department
yeah.
has. Yeah.
They need access to the bathrooms, but they could
Right.
they could see this as their main entrance.
Right.
And this is just about getting to the bathroom
Right.
and then this space being useful to them if they want to call that the booking room,
Mhm.
whatever.
Or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
evidence
I'm
room.
imagining,
Yeah,
I'm imagining the kitchen.
Oh, all that space, that's much bigger.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, because the kitchen,
yeah,
I mean, you've got,
yeah.
and that's
I
it.
mean, that's we'd have a
It's a
door
good
here.
sized kitchen.
It's still a good sized kitchen.
Yeah.
And we can maybe shrink.
It's not a lot
So-
of cooking that's done,
No.
right?
Yeah,
We could get a smaller range.
yeah, I mean,
Donate it. That thing is giant in there.
right, yeah.
Is it?
It
That
does,
does.
it was inspected, it worked at the
Probably
time.
Nice.
No, I didn't, no, I ran it long enough that I would
You
have
really?
noticed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roasted.
I opened the drawers one day and I'm like,
Yeah, we've been working on it, but it's.
Yeah.
So the only thing that this design needs to continue to think about is where we store stuff.
right,
If this wall is here and this is a partitioned off and this access is all the way over there, this is a nicer space to
Yeah.
multi-use. But again, I guess you could just line the heavy things up
Yeah.
right here. Because this access is just for utility.
right. It's not for the public.
Right.
It's,
Right.
so it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you would want, like, if there was a fire or something, it can't be blocked, right? So that,
No, that
No,
could
but
be
you can't
blocked.
get out anywhere.
That's not an exit.
right. No, I meant the hallway blocked. You just want to make sure the
Right.
hallway doesn't get filled up.
Right.
For people.
But if.
Well,
if
well,
it's
this,
stored Just against this
Yeah.
wall.
if
And
this is just a room,
Mhm.
this is not a hallway,
Right.
because this
Right.
is gone.
Right,
Right.
right. And so the things that are clunky to be stored are stored against this wall, and you're still seeing it this way.
Yeah.
And I wasn't envisioning any more interior partitioning than that.
So can I ask a question just
Yeah.
while we're talking about it? So let's flip it and say the police department is in there. And then council on aging and any other uses are in here. Does that work?
They wouldn't get to access this space.
Yeah, they wouldn't
That's
get, they wouldn't get that closet.
What
Square
is,
feet.
what is that?
92 square feet.
Well, I said, when I was kind of cutting this in half,
Yeah,
that would give them a 92, well, you write it down, 92 square foot closet
right.
over
Or booking
46 square closet,
Right.
46 square foot.
Then the current senior lounge is like 30 by 19. There. Yeah, it's just more, does it, yeah, because it's
I don't see any advantage.
advantage to it.
Yeah. Um,
Okay. Let's see.
Well, the only, I'd say, it wouldn't be that far.
Yeah,
Well, you could, what I was thinking is if we got a lot of stuff out of the utility, maybe that could become police storage. I don't.
oh, storage, yeah.
Storage, yeah, it's too.
I think their
it's-
storage has to be secure, like it,
Oh,
yeah.
so the
like-
utility guys can't go in there and drink
Yeah.
the beer that gets.
Yeah, it's whatever, yeah.
Oh.
Um. Okay, so I was trying to write as Paul's suggestion, sort of what questions we have answered, because I think this is helpful. So is this on is this CAD, transferable? Do we have, I mean, this could be put into, made.
Are you talking about this?
Yeah,
So, yeah, when Pat's away for a couple of days, we can talk to her, and when she can make changes we want.
okay.
This is all in CAD. Yeah, she
Okay.
took the
Oh, great,
plans. and
okay.
She
So
created
put
this.
Okay,
It's all in CAD.
okay. So the next iteration could be, sort of what we talked about today in a drawing. So the questions that I had put down needing to be answered, are first, the change in use from library to office space, not meeting space.
Right,
You just
What are the,
that is.
what are the
Right.
code requirements?
and police department or off,
Yes, please.
and then
Yeah,
Or any office.
bathroom.
Yeah.
If we put in a bathroom,
and then if we just are putting in a bathroom,
You mean toilet?
if we're just putting in a toilet,
A working toilet.
what does Jim Hawkins know about, what the options are? And would putting a toilet in, if we weren't changing the use, toilet with no change of use, is there anything in the code that we need to be alerted to?
It may be a bathroom, not just a toilet.
Well, that's what
I think if we're putting in a functioning toilet, you put in a sink. If we're having a
Well,
composting.
I think
toilet,
you were thinking a non-water
so,
function, right?
yeah.
If we went with a composting toilet that doesn't have a water system.
Yeah, then I'm thinking you have the hand sanitizer.
Right.
Right, like it is now.
Yeah,
Right, but if we trigger all those new code requirements because we're using it as office space,
Right.
does that require a real bathroom?
Oh, I
with
bet.
Running
Yeah.
water.
Right, right. That's what that we need to know from the building inspector. Tell me if I'm going too fast. The third question I had, is if we were reconfiguring this space for police department, What are the costs beyond the code requirements for department certification? So,
That's,
the chief was saying in the, in the police reform bill, getting that certification is really important. We need to know what are the things that they're looking for in certification. So that would be, that we would get from the chief or acting chief, excuse me. And then I had written down ways other space could be divided. I think we answered that question. Is we are looking simply at making that room bigger and then bumping this out. So those are the only questions I have. Other questions that you guys can,
The other one that came up earlier was, whether we realistically can consider like the new library space as,
yes,
meeting
yes, good, yep.
space.
Yep.
Or, public hearings.
Thank you.
things
Yep.
like that. Yep.
So what are any limitations that we might be faced with in using the library space? Like who gets priority? I mean, Mary Ann likes to say, every space is the town space. So I'll see if that's how,
From a taxpayer point of view, that makes
yes,
sense. to me.
yep,
In
Yep.
policy or, correct, yeah.
so is it available for? So why don't I will do that with Mary Ann. And I can follow up with, Devin, maybe between you and me, Brennan, we'll follow up with Devin, see if there's some criteria for, certification. Yeah, like physical. You can say physically, we need to have X number of square feet and whatever else it is. And then, Stephen, you didn't get the sense that, that if we reconfigured this existing space, that there would be a lot of code issues. Would there? Is it cost? Is it a dollar threshold for meeting the current building code? Like, let's say you're doing a renovation of your house.
I don't honestly know, but my guess is 50%. You're doing a 50% renovation. And this would never get close to.
No, because the outside walls and doors.
We're not doing anything upstairs. Okay.
Changing, adding space, changing 50% of the current space or?
No, it's like
adding
if
additional space, what's the 50%?
I'm talking, say you've got a building.
Yeah.
And you're gonna do this renovation, which might include, partitions, bathrooms, kitchen,
Right.
all this other stuff. If it's more than 50% involved, I'm not sure how you determine that, then you've got to come to current code for the whole thing, as opposed to just what you're doing.
Okay, I guess.
So that's not money or square foot. You don't know what the 50% is. It is.
You don't know what that refers to, the 50%.
But I would say, here, we're talking about moving, taking a partition down, putting partitions up, changing a few doors.
So
It
that's
does,
where the 50% is. We're not getting close to it.
Yeah.
right, right. So I just wanted to make sure that that's, I don't know. We don't want any surprises.
No.
In our recommendations, we just want to make sure.
Yeah, and so it's, things like the heating wouldn't have to change because of the way it's zoned already.
Right.
And to answer, more about the question about all the pipes, Haley.
Yeah,
So if you look over there, see those two that go off and then go upstairs? And you see that thing that's kind of hanging from the pipes? So that's what's called a zone valve. And that's attached to the thermostat that's up in that area. And that allows that area to ask for heat without this area asking for heat. And That's why there's so many pipes. There's another, see, there's another zip.
Oh, and
That's what, yeah, the opening and closing.
is that another? one
That's another
there?
zone valve right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is just like the innards are all exposed here,
So-
you know, and how all
So
the,
these are the, say, main supply. And these ones that jump off, belong to stations. They
I
each
see.
have the valves.
Right.
And they each can be,
Okay.
and are controlled by the thermostat.
And stuff could be boxed off some, right? I mean,
You could do that. I mean, one of my suggestions,
Yeah.
I think I made early on, when you were asking that, is if you just spray
painted it.
everything
yeah,
to match the ceiling,
right,
it'll pretty
Yeah.
much disappear.
yeah.
You would, you wouldn't spray
The
the
valve box.
zone valve. that-
Right. But these have insulation on the outside of them?
That's what it's
That
black
black
neoprene
insulation.
insulation.
Okay, all right. Okay, so it sounds like we have questions for Jim Hawkins. I'll talk to the chief around the certification requirements, talk to Mary Ann about with their policies around the meeting space.
I'll talk to the COA again and get a more clear path. You
COA.
want me to talk to Susan Millinger.
Who's the chair now?
Her and
Jessica, so Susan and Jessica.
I could sit down and talk about what is in the mix
Yeah,
and ask her what
or we can invite them to our next meeting.
Yeah, I usually, she might have to research stuff, so if it
Okay.
sounds right, I'll get in touch with her.
Okay, and
And-
then say,
Like to hear what the,
yeah, that maybe our, I mean, do we want to invite them to our next meeting or do we want to wait till we're a little bit more?
I don't think we're gonna change. I don't see anything here changing our course radically, so we could have them come, but I will talk to her before that meeting.
Okay.
so She can begin to look at what that,
Yeah, I mean,
They're-
they're immediately probably gonna like, what are you taking away from us? Like, what do you?
Yeah, I
do?
know how-
We
I
don't
know how to
really
do-
know. We have sort of like, I think of that as in like gross terms, we have a bigger space, then we have to figure out. And based on some of the rest of the answers to the rest of these questions, how that would get configured.
so maybe you bring it up to them as how can we help fulfill your needs while maybe changing things up so that
We
it's
fulfill our own needs.
everyone's needs.
first question was going to be, what does being a COA require? That, what are you meeting that's in that requirement of being a council on aging? So she's a historian enough to help look at that. And so it
Okay.
doesn't have to come from, it can come from that angle.
Okay, any other questions? Because I think we're kind of
Yeah.
getting ready to wrap up here.
Do you want to invite them for the next meeting, or do you want to wait till the meeting after that when some of these answers come in?
What do you think?
I would
So we
wait.
get answers.
Okay, so I'll just start the
Just say-
discussion
Yeah,
and get some facts
What do you-
and some,
yeah.
Okay.
We'll
I
wait.
think it'll just
so we'll say future meeting,
to
but
add,
Yeah.
it would just add a lot of, at this point in
Anxiety.
time, unnecessary
Yeah,
discussion, questions.
okay. And then do you want to ask Pat to draw some of these changes in?
I can do that, yeah. So what I will do is essentially have her put partition along these two columns, but then it will, how did I do that?
The door coming right at the
The
beginning.
doors, yeah, the door is here, so.
Yep.
And then there's the door, there'll now be the door. But do we want the door there, or do we want the door here?
If it's here, then the utility people just keep going.
Right.
and then the other people take that.
So that's one reason. A reason to
Mhm.
put it, say,
Just leave it where
here
it is.
is, well, to put it here is, only maybe that, do the police feel, if this became a
Yeah.
police officer,
Right,
do
and
they
then,
feel better with our door over here or here?
Right.
I don't know why, but I'm guessing they'd like it here.
yeah, I mean, those are the things that when we're fine tuning it, for presentation, we'd say, you know, this is a privacy move, this is a
Yeah.
security move.
Well, we can do the doors opposite.
Right.
That can always be changed.
Right.
And then cutting the kitchen in half, eliminating this door, and roughly in the middle,
Mhm.
that could change.
Right.
Having a new door.
And then this, access to this,
That
they,
door is already there.
Yeah, they just don't show up on there.
When you're talking to Jim Hawkins and talking about the change in use, because I want to be gathering that information, if we said, oh, this wasn't going to work for
Right.
whatever reason, as much detail about what code requirements are going to be would be really helpful. So we can begin to put a dollar sign on that, because that's what
Page 32, Article
yeah, no, I know,
7.36.
But
says-
we're dealing, he's been in that office for a long time, so we're dealing with somebody who's really knowledgeable.
Yeah,
who's,
yeah.
Probably been in all these buildings and, if you can say, okay, Jim, like, just give it to me straight. We want to take the library, convert it into a police station. I don't need for you to know and, what the specific police station requirements are, although he might know some of that. What are we looking at? So rewiring, plumbing.
Will Jim be up to speed on like Title V and sanitation kind of codes, information, or? do we really
Probably
need
not.
to look
He
elsewhere
would
for
be,
that?
I think, building.
Just building,
Yeah, and
Then we have the health, we have
Then-
the health
then you wanna-
inspector,
Well, or plumbing inspector.
plumbing. But who is the person who oversees Title
Might-
V stuff?
Yeah, it used to be like Charlie Konecki.
Yeah. So
They're-
I think
they're
there
in-
is somebody.
they're
there.
just getting a new person. They're just getting that person.
Okay, is it, they
Eastern
operate out of the,
East-
FERCog, or do they operate out of the?
I think it's
Building
called the
inspector?
Eastern something,
Uh,
County,
Senate-
Eastern County, it's not called Public Health, Eastern County Health. Something.
Yeah,
And they've been in flux, and last time I talked to Kat, they thought they had finally hired someone.
but you'll be able
I
to.
can ask
you'll-
her.
Yeah, just tell her, just say, okay, so what if if we need to put in a full bathroom over there, regardless of what the use is. My question is, if you put that as a police station, we do have to have a men's room and a women's room. I bet you
All gender?
you might have to have three bathrooms. I don't know. I don't.
I
I
don't.
mean, adding a second bathroom is probably, compared to the overall cost of,
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
a septic system and.
It's not.
water and everything, probably not gonna add a whole. That, I mean, more fixtures. and-
Well, the problem with putting a second bathroom in there is you're just taking from that 900 square feet.
Taking more space. But that's still big for you'd only be getting 600 here, so.
Maybe they can go down cellar. Lift up the thing.
One family back.
I don't know, but,
Well, yeah, we don't have to speculate, we can ask.
Yeah,
yeah.
and I'll check into the DEP alternatives.
Okay.
Okay.
Traditional septic.
Okay.
System
Okay,
that I
great.
was talking about earlier. I already did some of that research while I was sitting here, so.
Okay. All right, I think we have,
Calendar about,
the calendar, today is the 4th.
so we can have one on the 18th, that's good.
That work for folks?
And let's go back to what was the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
10:30?
10:30.
30 on the 18th.
Yeah, I don't watch it get dark.
I know, I know. All right, so it's next meeting, 10:30, December 18th. And follow up with the other two members who didn't show today. Make sure we get the full house here. All righty, so do I?
10:30 a.m.
10:30 is December 18th, next meeting of MN Sphere Reuse Committee. Well, thank you all. Thanks, Stephen, for getting this together, and I think everybody has their assignments.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor?
Closure.
All right, that's unanimous. All right, great. Thank you very much.
Okay, these are for, should I put these upstairs?
Give it
Oh,
a
yeah.
round because we
Yeah.
might want to have a packet.
Yeah.
for, Yeah. Yep. Everyone was talking about the wrappers. I thought. Well, that's a new one. That's different, new and different.
From the packets, because I drawn one set of those plans, I stole. So
Oh,
And you confessed, so that's good.
On that tab.
how do I do that? Okay, red button. Okay, got it.